Fresh data streaming in from Hawaii's Gemini North Observatory has deepened the mystery surrounding the enigmatic object known as 3IATLAS. The latest observations reveal something that challenges every prior assumption: this interstellar traveler may not be voyaging through the cosmos alone. Multiple smaller bodies now appear to accompany the primary object, each maintaining a remarkably close trajectory alongside 3IATLAS. These aren't optical illusions, background stars, or lens flares. They are discrete, confirmed points of light, moving in perfect unison across the cold void between worlds. And as scientists, we approach such findings with extreme caution. Every rational explanation must be tested, every mundane cause considered. Could these smaller companions be fragments, pieces that separated from the main nucleus as solar heat intensified during its inward approach? On the surface, that seems plausible, yet the evidence refuses to cooperate with that theory. If fragmentation had occurred, we would expect to see chaotic debris patterns, scattering dust, erratic tumbling, uneven motion. But instead, what the data shows is unnervingly consistent. The movement appears structured, stable, almost deliberate. What's more, amateur astronomers around the globe have independently confirmed the same phenomenon. Stefan Burns, for instance, released a time-lapse video online revealing several luminous companions traveling beside 3IATLAS. Another observer in Germany, known online as Night Monkey, tracked multiple distinct flight paths, each maintaining precise formation relative to the main object. Then there's Alexander Flum, whose footage captured something even stranger around the 30-second mark: a brief emerald flash, a diffuse glow entirely separate from the core body. And this was no camera artifact or atmospheric trick. That unexpected green hue introduces yet another puzzle. Normally, comets appear green due to dicarbon, C2, molecules fluorescing under ultraviolet sunlight. But spectral data from Chile's Very Large Telescope indicates that 3IATLAS is severely lacking in these carbon compounds. Typical comets are fragile, icy, porous conglomerates of dust and frozen gas, cosmic snowballs barely held together. Traveling at over 100,000 miles per hour, such a body should have disintegrated long ago under solar stress or gravitational forces. Yet 3IATLAS remains entirely intact. Even more astonishing, it recently endured a direct impact from a coronal mass ejection, a violent blast of solar plasma that should have ripped it apart. Somehow, this object's internal structure defies every model of thermodynamic behavior we understand. It refuses to break, refuses to obey the rules. Its resilience hints at something deeper, something artificial, perhaps, or beyond the limits of known physics. And now, imagine the possibility. But what if that hollow nature isn't a random byproduct of cosmic chance but an intentional design choice? If 3IATLAS was constructed, not formed, then carving out its interior would make perfect engineering sense. A hollow structure minimizes overall mass, while shielding any internal systems from radiation, micrometeorite impacts, and temperature extremes. Such an architecture would also provide rotational balance, eliminating the chaotic tumbling typical of natural comets. And if its composition included unknown or non-terrestrial materials, perhaps elements that exist beyond our current periodic table, that could elegantly explain why its gravitational signature is far weaker than predicted. To be clear, this is not irrefutable proof of artificial origin, but it feels like a faint whisper from the universe itself, a suggestion that our tidy boundaries separating the natural from the constructed may no longer hold. Adding to the enigma, NASA's Neil Gerald Swift Observatory has recorded something equally perplexing. 3IATLAS is actively venting water vapor at a distance where no comet should be awake. Current measurements show emissions of nearly 88 pounds of vapor per second, and this is occurring at 3 astronomical units from the Sun, far beyond the point where solar heat should induce such activity. Most comets remain dormant until they draw much closer, their frozen interiors thawing only near the warmth of the inner system. So why is this one alive so early? And why does its release rate remain so steady? The implications are staggering. Whether its inner shell is hollow or its matrix is intricately porous, 3IATLAS seems to channel thermal energy in ways we've never seen before, as though it were managing internal heat rather than succumbing to it. Meanwhile, the Gemini imagery continues to show those mysterious companions moving alongside it, each one in synchronized formation, guided by an invisible choreography we cannot yet decipher. If these were mere fragments, they should have scattered chaotically, drifting apart over time. But they haven't. They remain locked in formation, traveling as if responding to a shared command. And so, we're left to confront the question no scientist ever wants to ask but cannot avoid anymore. If these accompanying bodies are not debris, if they are independent entities traveling in deliberate coordination with 3IATLAS, then what are we truly observing? Could these smaller objects be probes? Instruments, perhaps, operating in concert, each one performing a task, scanning, collecting, transmitting. Is it possible that what we've been calling a comet is, in fact, a convoy, a fleet crossing through our solar system on some purposeful trajectory we don't yet comprehend? As a physicist, my instinct rebels against such an extraordinary interpretation. Every fiber of scientific discipline tells me to resist sensational conclusions. But I am also, unavoidably, a student of history, and history reminds us that the universe has a tendency to surprise those who underestimate it. Scientific history offers a sobering lesson. Centuries ago, Galileo Galilei was told to disregard the tiny lights orbiting Jupiter because, according to the accepted truth of his era, such moons simply could not exist. Across human history, whenever we've come face to face with something profoundly unknown, our first instinct has almost always been denial. Only later, when denial inevitably collapses under the weight of evidence, does the second reaction emerge: wonder. And right now, we are suspended in that uneasy twilight between the two, caught between skepticism and awe. What makes this moment even more unsettling is the silence, a silence louder than any official statement. NASA, the European Space Agency, even China's Tianwen program, all of them possess instruments perfectly positioned to capture high-resolution data during 3IATLAS's close pass by Mars. Yet, the findings remain unpublished. The data exists of that, there's no doubt. The telescopes operated flawlessly. The instruments recorded exactly what they were designed to record. And still, the information pipeline has gone inexplicably quiet. We've seen this pattern before. When Oumuamua sliced through our solar system in 2017, certain spectroscopic readings and radar reflections were quietly withheld for months before release. 2 years later, when Borisov followed the second known interstellar visitor, the same inexplicable delay repeated itself. And now, as 3IATLAS sweeps past Mars, the pattern is playing out once again with almost mechanical precision. In an age of instant global communication, such silence cannot help but speak volumes. Because sometimes, the absence of information becomes information itself, a message encoded in omission, a signal hidden within quiet. Of course, there may be mundane explanations, bureaucratic bottlenecks, data validation protocols, perhaps even the deliberate caution of institutions that fear releasing incomplete or easily misinterpreted findings. Maybe it's just red tape. Maybe it's a calibration error. Maybe it's nothing. But the timing, the repetition, the synchronized withholding these coincidences are becoming impossible to dismiss. Every time an interstellar object challenges our assumptions about how the universe works, the stream of data narrows as if an invisible valve is slowly being turned, restricting the flow of truth itself. To me, after decades immersed in scientific research, this doesn't feel like some grand conspiracy cloaked in secrecy. It feels far more human. It feels like fear. Fear of how the public might misinterpret what we don't yet understand. Fear of chaos in the absence of certainty. Fear of staring into the unknown and realizing for perhaps the first time that we are no longer simply the observers of the universe, but the observed. But science cannot advance if we allow fear to define the edges of our curiosity. Progress demands courage, the willingness to peer beyond comfort, even when what we find might upend everything we believe. If 3IATLAS ultimately turns out to be a natural phenomenon, we will still learn something profound from its study. But if it isn't natural, if our instruments and analyses are pointing toward something far greater, then we may have stumbled upon a discovery that transcends astronomy itself, reaching into the oldest question humanity has ever asked. Are we truly alone in the universe? Even by the most conservative estimates, as Lowe himself has noted, there simply shouldn't be enough interstellar debris drifting through the void to deliver objects of this magnitude into our solar system every decade. The odds defy everything we know about the distribution of cosmic material. The mathematics itself seems to whisper a different story, that something else is unfolding here. Something deliberate. Or, at the very least, something governed by principles we have not yet grasped. Now, ask yourself this. If 3IATLAS is truly traveling in concert with multiple companions' bodies that move in perfect formation, maintaining distance and velocity with uncanny precision, what does that suggest about the nature of the universe around us? For generations, we have assumed that humanity is the explorer, the one casting instruments into the darkness, scanning the stars, searching for others. But what if that assumption has been backwards all along? What if, for the first time, our act of looking upward with sufficiently advanced tools has allowed us to see something that has always been watching? As a theoretical physicist, I don't view that possibility as a crisis. It isn't a threat to reason or belief. It's an invitation to expand the very foundation of science itself. Every anomaly carries within it a message, a subtle communication wrapped in mystery. Every irregularity is a question we haven't yet learned how to phrase. Very soon, 3IATLAS will vanish behind the blinding radiance of the sun, slipping temporarily beyond our view. But when it reemerges in December, every telescope on Earth will be waiting, recalibrated, refocused, ready. From Chile to Hawaii, from the Canary Islands to Australia, observatories will watch as data streams pour across the globe. And perhaps then, if we are fortunate, that lingering institutional silence we've all sensed will finally break. Until that day arrives, we must hold fast to the principles that have always guided discovery. Patience as the evidence accumulates, skepticism toward every extraordinary claim, and openness toward every possibility that dares to challenge our most comfortable assumptions. Because the universe owes us nothing. It is under no obligation to behave according to our expectations, or to fit neatly into our carefully labeled categories. It simply is vast, indifferent, and filled with wonders that wait patiently for us to become brave enough to notice them. It simply is what it is. And sometimes, just sometimes, the universe chooses to reveal its presence not through grand declarations, but through a single, fleeting green trail carved across the endless dark, a whisper in motion, a cosmic reminder that the greatest discoveries rarely arrive bearing clear answers. They come cloaked in mystery, carrying questions that reshape the way we think, the way we see, the way we define what it means to be human. Because, in the end, whether 3IATLAS proves to be a shard of alien geology, a relic of some shattered world flung from a distant star, or something far more deliberate, something born not of rock but of intent, it brings with it the same precious gift: perspective. The reminder that we are, once again, beginners' fragile minds, standing at the threshold of infinite wonder. For so long, we've believed the cosmos to be a stage upon which humanity plays alone, our telescopes and spacecraft serving as our instruments of exploration, our questions echoing unanswered across the dark. But perhaps 3IATLAS isn't just another wandering visitor. Perhaps it's a message, not spoken in language, but written in motion, in the elegant choreography of celestial bodies, tracing patterns across space and time. If that's true, then the message isn't meant to frighten us. It's meant to invite us to listen, to learn, to expand our understanding of what communication might mean on a universal scale. Maybe we've always been part of a dialogue too vast to perceive until now. Even the silence that surrounds this discovery begins to feel different. It's not the silence of absence, but the silence of anticipation, as though the cosmos itself is pausing, waiting to see whether we will take the next step, whether we'll dare to look deeper rather than turn away. The green luminescence, faint and transient, cuts across the void like an artist's brushstroke on an infinite canvas. Each flicker of light carries stories of gravitational tides, ancient collisions, and perhaps something more, the signature of awareness, etched into the rhythm of the universe. For scientists, this is the beginning of a new chapter. For philosophers, it's the rebirth of an old question. If the universe is capable of creating both minds and matter, then where does one end and the other begin? When 3IATLAS reappears from behind the sun's glare in the months ahead, our instruments will once again lock onto its position. The data streams will reopen, and maybe, hidden within the next wave of numbers and spectral lines, we'll find not proof, but patterns, something that hints, ever so faintly, that we are not alone in this dialogue of existence. Because the truth is this: the universe has never owed us certainty. It offers only mystery, and with it, the chance to grow. Every unanswered question is a doorway. Every strange light across the sky is a quiet invitation to wonder. And so, as 3I ATLAS drifts onward into the great, unending dark, we are left standing beneath our fragile atmosphere, a small species staring upward, awed and uncertain, realizing that perhaps we have never truly been the ones doing the observing. Perhaps, all along, we've been part of a vast, silent conversation, one written not in words, but in the graceful motion of worlds, in the geometry of orbit and time. And for the first time, humanity has learned to listen.